Are sport touring machines dead? Today in this video, I'm going to be riding the ST1300 and an FJR1300. Jesus Christ, look at all the cops at Dunkin' Donuts. Alright, this is what year?
This is 07.
FJR. Actually, it doesn't feel as heavy as I thought. Get neutral. Nice, look at that. Alright, 4 cylinders. Ooh, heavy. Oh, but that sounds powerful. Oh, it just died on me. Sitting on it right away feels much sportier. You have your feet backwards a little bit more. Yeah, this feels like much sportier. Because it is. This bike is sportier. The ST1300, of course, it's not as sporty as this. I still, I'm getting used to this bike. I don't want to pull any wheelies. Oh my god, this thing is just, it feels like a sport bike. It feels like a comfortable sport bike. Your seating position on it is sportier. Right away, your legs are further back, you're and higher up. You can't really flat-foot it. Yeah, like I can't really flat-foot this bike. Third gear pull, very easy. I mean, this thing is just super torquey. The FJR I had, it felt a little bit different, but it's similar at the same time. Like you forget how sporty this bike is when you've been riding it, but when you ride an ST1300 and you get on this, you realize that yeah, this has got a much sportier feel. You are much more forward leaning, your legs are further back, your knees are slightly up, so excellent position. I actually like the sporty positions a little bit more than the complete touring package like the SD. On my last video, I complained a lot about how heavy it is, but ST1300 feels more like a sporty Goldwing. But the motor, I think, on the SD is much more interesting in a motorcycling perspective. A cop. Oh yeah, oh my god! Oh yeah, oh my god, what speed am I going? I don't know. He's way back there. He is way back there. I think I was just, I surprised him a bit. Oh man. Oh yeah, this is faster. It's got a very heavy throttle, which I don't like. It's got a kick. It's got a much more serious kick than the ST1300. Suspension is about the same. It's kind of rough. I do like that the new FJRs have electronic suspension, because this road right now is kind of rough, and I like to take bikes through here to see how well they do with the potholes, the lumpiness. You could always like see how bikes behave. There's always like some gravel here. So, 'cause, 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 ' I'm not used to like cornering on it, but Jesus Christ. Hey, get out of there, squirrel. Oh my God. I almost killed that squirrel. He did not see that coming. Oh my God. He is way behind there. This bike just sounds so freaking good. That create crazy heat like the ST. It makes riding much more enjoyable in this high temperature. It's like 90 something degrees. Oh my God. Alright. Flood area. I haven't been here in quite some time. I'm not used to the cornering of this bike. Oh my God, there's just a random guy like walking. This bike has just got so much power that it's hard to like manage it. I don't think it's got like any modes or anything, but we're gonna do a walkthrough just to see what features this thing has. I love the forward position much more than the SD, but that's because I like sportier bikes. I find the leaning in is better. I love the pull. I love the pull. But you know, this is the reason I don't really like the sport bikes. It's just, I'm going to get killed. I'm going to get my license taken away. This is the problem with these bikes. But it sounds so good when you're like decelerating. That very deep sound that it has. It's so awesome. This, I love how refined the SD is, but this thing is just, it's a rocket. It feels like you're on a rocket. It's a whole lot more stable in the front end than the SD. These bikes back to back, you really can tell the difference. So I'm very curious about jumping on my ST again and seeing how she behaves. A little stumble like in first gear. I wonder if there's something up with the gears. I can hear that SD. It's got a very distinct sound. You know, surprisingly too, these bikes will do power wheelies. Jesus, it's so smooth. You know, the transition from the on and off of the throttle it's not very good. It's not smooth at all. It feels rougher. It feels like the fuel injection is not very well done on this. Cruising in third gear on this thing. Look how nice sounding this is. It just sounds so good. You know, Yamaha did some interesting things. This bike is much narrower than the ST, but they put the battery like high up. The gas tank is 6 gallons, I believe, high up. So the ST does have a lower center of gravity, but it's also got more weight. In a way, the ST feels a little bit more predictable, but also it's because I'm much more familiar with it. I've never gotten into the cornering potential of the ST just because I prefer the adventure style position for riding corners. But this one, I mean, I can definitely see myself like going to the canyons and riding this thing around. It feels really planted. Yeah, it's got a lumpiness to the transmission. Let me put up the windscreen so you guys can see how nothing to write home about. when you're riding the SD, that whole thing is the windscreen. It's so big, it's like twice as big as this. This is like a little tiny windscreen. Ah, it's so sad.
This one tends to lean quicker than this. For some reason I feel I can handle this one much better, but this one feels like you just do it a little bit and it just tends to fall all the way, you know. This one is more controllable. This one, it feels a little bit looser in the front. Yeah,
the STs, they have that vagueness in the front. That's like that weird thing that Honda has, but if you talk to anybody on the SDs, it's very controversial. They think it's, you know, improper loading. Holy cow, this is heavy.
I have some water in there and all that stuff, but they're pretty heavy.
Look at that. This is the one thing that this, you know, let me show you how ugly this is. Difference, it's so much nicer, because I see guys all the time riding FJRs without the saddle cases, and it looks good. It looks like a sport bike.
Yeah, it does.
Nobody rides the SD without the saddle cases. I've never seen it unless they crashed it. So you sit on it and you have a little bit of a lean, so your foot is back. I actually find this more comfortable. This bike, you also have the seat that's much better. The seat on this is like super comfy. Yeah, like this, I'm actually kind of leaning back. My feet, it's like I'm sitting in a chair, and this is much more upright. So definitely more touring oriented. This thing, it feels like a proper kind of like sport bike that does a little touring. I can just like boom, plop it, and of course shaft drive. And here is your preload adjustment. A preload adjustment here, but it's like a knob. It's like a, it's more adjustable. The other one is just like soft or hard. This one, you can dial it in a little bit better. I have this to put the bike onto the center stand. I don't have anything to put it on the center stand. That is interesting. Oil filter is harder. It's actually like over there. You can reach it without removing the plastic, but you're better off removing the plastic so you don't get stuff everywhere. There we go. It's got a USB charger, tiny little pocket. And I believe that the battery is here, right? The seat on this, definitely pretty firm.
Here in the front, you have the headlights adjustment.
That's the headlight, and this is for the other headlight.
Yep.
So
individual headlights adjustment. This is the up and down, and then down there under the fairing, there's two little screws that you turn left and right.
So right here, it's just left and right, and it adjusts the high beam. I feel on this bike I can go 150 miles an hour without having any issues. On this, I'm afraid to go over 100. The mirrors and the blinkers.
I talked about the mirrors and them.
The mirrors are great. Like, they're very stable. You can see everything.
It's like the Concourse.
And then you have the blinkers integrated, but they're on the fairing, which is, if you drop it, you're gonna rash this, that, that, as it is.
That was a crash guard.
Yeah, this has got built-in crash bars, and then they put this thing on here. Of course, that's the head of the motor. I mean, you can feel the heat coming off of here. Yeah, I don't think this bike is as bad, right? Yeah, no, it's like actually kind of cool. You're not going to get burned, not even in the frame. I mean, this thing is just boiling.
It's a good commuter in the wintertime, though.
Yes.
It keeps you hot.
Yeah, like I couldn't ride this thing to DC. I used to ride the old one to DC, and it was just too difficult. Really good sport touring machines. You can get these for a bargain. This one is actually cheaper than this. I have no idea, but nobody can sell these bikes. These sell all the time. I had no issues selling my FJR. This thing, I barely can give it away. It's really a difficult bike. to sell. The FJR feels a whole lot finnier in the handling, like twitchier. Also, one thing about the FJR is that the transmission on it is not as refined as this. This bike is just buttery smooth, and with a new oil change, it becomes even smoother. Mirrors on this, they're excellent. You know, not a lot of people go like, oh man, I really love the mirrors of a bike. But this bike's mirrors and bodywork is so well integrated that it feels like it would be completely lost if they put those mirrors from the FJR on here. That's why this bike, with the saddle cases, it looks great, but without, it looks terrible. It's the same thing. This bike was meant as one entire piece. It's not meant to remove like the saddle cases or the mirrors or the blinkers, because it was designed as a unified type of product. The FJR, it feels like they stuck mirrors from one bike to the other, so it's definitely not as unified. That's why I think this bike appeals to a more refined type of rider. And generally the people that get these STs, they don't give them up. It's a crazy good bike for the amount of money that you buy.